Welcome to Gridcrawler Steve, and this is Gridcrawler Steve Reads a Comic. And this one I'm really excited to share with you all. This takes over, I believe, where my last Let's Read finished, which was call number 2 from 1970. This is Conan's Scourge of the Serpent by Titan Comics. So yes, I'm really excited to show this book off. This is a fantastic series so far. So let's go through this. Let's kind of dissect this page by page. This is Jim Zub, or Zub. I'm gonna figure out how to pronounce that soon. He's doing all the modern Conan stories with Titan Comics. A lot of people, I've read a lot of reviews, they're considering him the modern Conan mastermind. I agree with that. He's the lead writer, and based on what I've read so far of all his work, I've read probably about 35 of his books so far in the last couple of years. He definitely has a deep knowledge of Robert E. Howard's lore. The interior art here is going to be Ivan Gill. So as we go through these pages, we'll take a closer look at Ivan Gill's art, see how it contributes to the overall flow of the story. It's Roberto De La Torre on the cover. It's fantastic, beautiful cover. We got Brule and Conan. Oh, sorry, we got Brule and King Call. Oh my! I mean, Conan does make an appearance. Now, there's alternate covers for this one. John McCrea, Jeff Isherwood, and Matthias Bergera. These names, they're a little challenging for me. I'm probably butchering all of them. Even Zub or Zub, I seem to be butchering. Alright, so what's going on with Scourge of the Serpent? It is a 4-issue miniseries. Don't quote me on this, but I think it did begin, I'm gonna say like October of 2025. I think the 4-part series is done. It finished in January. I do have all 4 issues, and I hope to go through and share all 4 issues with you. I'm only about halfway through issue 2, so I really don't know how this ends or where it's going to go. But it's spanning 3 distinct eras in Robert E. Howard's universe. The Thurian Age, we're going to get the Hyborian Age, and Boston, 1932, or 1934's Boston. I think there's, I'm going to look for this. There might be a bit of a discrepancy. I swear in issue 2, I referenced Boston for 1934, but in this issue, I swear it was 1932. So I'm going to take a closer look at that as we flip through these pages and explore the panels. So this is a direct tie-in. I'm just quickly grabbing a magazine from a book from my rack here. This is something I shared with you all my last Let's Read. In fact, I'm going to open this because I wouldn't be surprised if I end up comparing the 2 books. But the story that happens here with Call is identical to this story. Again, just sheer coincidence. I think I shared that in my reading of the Call book number 2. Just absolute sheer coincidence that the next book in my reading pile was Scourge of the Serpents, and it just so happens to be at least the Call story happens to be a direct adaptation of Thomas's Call the Conqueror. called Kingdom of Shadows, which happens to be Robert E. Howard story, King Cole story. So you got Zub adapting Thomas, Thomas adapting Robert E. Howard from the 30s. I understand there was a 2025 free comic book day release for Scourge of the Serpents. And I guess I'm only realizing that now. Shoot, I think I do have that in my collection. Yeah, I almost wonder if I should have read or explored that book first before opening up issue 1 with you all. Well, let's just keep going. But I may end up showing you all the free comic book day release. Now, bear with me here as I guess I'm not overly prepared today. Where did my little beanbag go? Here's my beanbag, my Sleeman beard beanbag. Okay. Oh, right, the first page. So this is not Conan's Hyborian Age, despite what we might think. We're in the Thirtian Age, about 90,000 years prior. Let's see, who do we got here? We got Brule, our Pictish warrior, and Gunnar the Seeker. And here we go, I'm going to do my first comparison. We've got Gunnar the Seeker right here. Move that up a little bit. Gunnar the Seeker. And we've got Brule right here entering. So same idea. We've got Gunnar the Seeker, who actually serves as a narrator for this first story. And already they're talking about the Serpent Men. Speak the words and you will know. So the first page gets right into it. There's no secrets here. There's traitors among us, right? No secrets at all. Page 1 gets right into it. All right, nice spread here. Beautiful spread. Ivan Gill, fantastic. So what we're seeing here is that here's Gunnar here talking about the curse of the serpent and how it really transcends the ages. And this we have is John Kirwan from Boston. So we've got Thurian, Hyborian, and Modern Age. So already, just by looking at page 2, 3, we know that this story is going to weave between these three eras. Should be a lot of fun. And the green hue, we'll dip into that later. That green, I guess, yeah, that's the only way to describe it, is a hue. The green color. Sorry about that. I do have a bit of a cold still, believe it or not. But that green color makes its appearance through many panels throughout this series. Definitely we see more of that green hue in issue 2. And I think that green hue represents the serpents. We'll dive into that more, possibly in the next issue. But yeah, looking good. And yes, this is right at a call. number 2. And this is right out of Robert E. Howard's story, right? Robert E. Howard, 1930s, Weird Tales magazine, which I have on my shelf here. You could look at my previous Let's Read, my previous Grid Crawler Steve Reads a Comic. That is where I show you guys the correlation of this book here, The Kingdom of the Shadows, and how it is an adaptation of the 1932 Weird Tales magazine. But this is an adaptation from 1932's Weird Tales magazine as well. And it's directly from the story. King Call is climbing these walls that should not be possible to climb. And he's doing this to meet King Call. And so this is their first meeting. Are you Bruel? King Call, are you Bruel? Now, in Roy Thomas's adaptation, it's a little different. It's Gunnar who introduces Bruel to Call, and they really don't trust each other right away. It's a little different here, a little different take on it. And right away, the words are uttered, Kanamaka Lajarama, and it does not affect King Call. So Bruel knows right away that Call is who he claims to be, and he's not a serpent man. But there is some tension here because they don't recognize each other, and that isn't really described. I think this is done to leave the reader questioning, is this really Bruel and is this really King Call? Which is the whole premise behind the story, is who do you trust if underneath the mask they're all serpents? So the question is this really a serpent man wearing the king's face? And of course, as I said, we get the test on the top of page 5. Fantastic. This secret phrase is uttered in the second issue. I believe it's referred to as the ultimate biological password, or I think I read that in one of the letters in the back of issue 1 or 2. How true that is. So the test has been passed. And this is a very telling panel right here. We've got Bruel, who has a secret passage in Cole's chambers. So as a Pict, he really doesn't trust the civilized stone walls of the palace, so he knows all the hidden veins of the building. And Cole really can't believe it. Cole's like, what is going on here? He wonders how this Pict warrior knows of all these secret passages and he does not. Okay, and so we learn as well here that there are the 18 Red Slayers, the elite guards, guarding his door. Cull is both surprised and impressed that Bruel was able to make it into his chamber. We're going to find out why in a moment. Okay, and here we are jumping to the Hyborian Age. And we're met with a young Conan. He'd be about like 17 or 18 in this particular story. And so we learn he's simply a thief. He's playing the role as a thief here, and in true Conan style, he just wants to get paid. It's all about the gold. However, as he enters the chamber of the nobleman, he discovers that someone was one step ahead of him. And we find the nobleman in which he was attempting to steal this particular bowl. Conan learns that the nobleman has been killed suddenly. Now, from the guard's perspective here, he's like, well, wait a sec. I mean, he just walks in. This is the night watch. And here's a foreign barbarian just standing there, right in front of him. So it's perfect. Conan's most likely been set up here. He's the perfect scapegoat. And so we know he was hired to steal, I called it a bowl earlier, a goblet. Really is what it is. We're not entirely sure if this is the goblet, but it certainly does look like it might be the prize. But what a setup. Already we're wondering, like, how on earth would Conan have been able to steal a goblet this large? Clearly something is amiss here, and it does look like a setup. There's a lot going on here. So yes, the Watchman, I mean, I guess he represents the result of the trap. He's the trap setter, the role of the trap setter. And right away, he's going to ring the bells. He's going to call for backup. I think we see some irony here, right? So we got the guard who's the Watchman. Yes, and he's got the crossbow bolt at Conan. And in a way, Conan, I don't know, he kind of respects this guy, right? He's saying a crossbow at close range is one of the few things he can't really outrun. So we see Conan trying to figure out options here. This is where we see, instead of Conan just throwing the sword around, he's looking, exploring options. He knows he can't outrun that crossbow. And this is even more than just a botched heist. This is some kind of political story that's about to unfold, some assassination where he's been chosen, Conan has been chosen as the fall guy. Alright, off to the modern age we go. And there it is, 1934. Yeah, so I think I was incorrect earlier. I swore I read it was 1932. But this is really interesting. We leave, you know, we've gone from Brule and Kull's like ancient tunnels in the Thurian kingdom, the Thurian Age. We have transported to Conan, where we're seeing this bloody heist. And now we're in this scholarly room in the middle of Boston. But the danger is still there. Even in the modern time, there's still a sense of the danger and how real it is. And so there we go. We got John Kirwan. We got Michael O'Donnell. And I think this guy's name is James Corin. But these two here, it's James Gordon. My apologies. James Gordon. But these two here are a classic Howard characters, so it's really neat to see them in comic form. I don't know the history. I should have looked that up. I do not know if we meet these guys in other previous comics, or is this their first appearance. I suspect they're probably in past stories, maybe Savage Sword of Conan. They could also be in the Savage Sword of Conan, the Scourge of the Serpent edition, which was, I believe, released in August of last year. They may also make an appearance there as well. But yeah, classic to see these Howard characters in full color in our comic panels here. This is great. So what's going on here? I mean, we know from the Howard history that John Kirwan and Michael O'Donnell, they're essentially occult detectives. And you know, we see this dagger. The excitement begins already. We see a dagger and Jordan reacts almost like a primitive hunted man. So there must be... We don't have an explanation for his reaction to being shown this dagger, but it must be some kind of, I don't know, genetic memory or something. Maybe this is tying in some of those previous ages that we just went through. And so the pair are quite surprised, and they want to know more about the reaction they just witnessed of their colleague, James Gordon. Hunted for what? They're asking. Why react that way? I think we're about to get our answer. Tell us the full ghost story, Gordon. What's going on? And the story begins. And we're transitioning to a bit of a monster story here. And Kirwan mentions all things that ever were, are, or ever will be transpire now. And I did a quick search of that phrase, and it turns out it's a classic occult philosophy. It suggests that time isn't a straight line, but a single massive moment. So this explains why we're jumping between these three eras, between Call, Conan, and Kirwan. The Serpent is attacking. The Scourge of the Serpent is attacking all of them simultaneously across time. So we're revealed here. This is kind of a bit of the jump scare right here. We're told through Gordon's recollection of the earlier events in the morning that his wife tried to kill him. And so now this ancient threat is right into the heart of 1930s Boston domestic and society. And so we see her eyes, right? That is definitely looking more serpent-like. So this is a really telling panel. These panels here, we're really starting to understand that this Scourge isn't just a monster in the woods. It's really more of a parasitic force that can hide inside anyone. It hides inside the people we love. In this case, it's hiding in James Gordon's wife. James mentioned that she hears the phrase, or she heard the phrase, and this ties directly back to what we saw Brule and Cull do on page 5. It's the secret word used to test Cull. Oh yes, and I forgot about this, but the shadow here. We've got what looks like a female body with a head with serpents, with snakes. It's a nice visual tell. We get a better sense to the astral truth of this entire situation. So even though her physical body still looks like a 1930s socialite, really she's possessed. Inside, she's become purely reptilian. It's pretty wild. Alright, let's move on. I'm reading some of the finer details to see if there's anything else I should share, so I apologize for the subtle pauses, but it's been about a week and a half since I've gone through this story, so I'm just kind of revisiting a few things. Alright, we are back to the King Conan Brule. So this is an interesting power shift on this page. We got King Cull, who's the king. But here we see he really has to bend his willpower to Brule. And what we're being told here as the reader is that during this time of like ancient supernatural evil, titles really mean nothing. It's really those primitive instincts of Brule. Again, he's a picked warrior. So Cull trusts those primitive instincts to navigate the nightmare that's currently unfolding. Aha, and we've got a classic spy hole moment, a threshold moment. Ooh, I might turn the volume down just a little bit. A weird song. I don't quite remember that on this particular album. This album's Scott Blackwell, Virus Analog. Pretty good. Old school album from 95. So yeah, the spy hole, that classic threshold moment. And we're going to look through that spy hole and see the Shadow Kingdom in action. We see a lot of that in Call the Conqueror too. These concepts of looking through windows to see the shadow that looms in the kingdom outside. All right, then flashback though, or sorry, flash forward, I should say, to the 30s. So right from the Shadow Kingdom, right to, I guess we'll call it a shadow mystery in modern Boston. And I think that's got to be a Model T or a Model, yeah, Model T, I'm guessing, a Ford. Nice kind of noir atmosphere to the page. So here we are introduced to the idea of Rolock, Joseph Rolock, and this might be our human villain. We'll find out more about him in a moment. And already Michael O'Donnell chooses the term snake tongue to describe Joseph. I mean, that's got to be a red flag. And finally, we're met with the concept of the ring. This is kind of our ultimate Trojan horse on this page. So in all Conan's stories, jewelry is rarely just jewelry. Typically, any kind of artifact or jewel has some kind of mystical connection to it. Clearly, this ring is going to have some connection to the serpent men. And we could see John Kirwan puzzled. He's kind of trying to figure this out. Yeah, and we find out it was Joseph who had sent James Gordon's wife the ring. Now, again, Kirwan's quite puzzled by this. Could this ring be connected possibly to her actions earlier this morning? And you know what's interesting? I want to go back to this page here. Is she wearing that ring? No. I mean, it's not easy to tell if she is. So she's holding a knife in the... Oh no, there we go. We got the other hand right here. Yep, there's no... Unless that's the ring right there. That little... I'm gonna guess not. So I don't think she was wearing that ring during that attack in the morning. Let me fix this before I spine tick. There we go. Oh dear, and we do got a little bit of a shine today. Ah, that's a little better. Yeah, I probably should have done that earlier. So hopefully it's a little easier to take a look. The goal here is not to necessarily read the panels, but just to enjoy the artwork. Definitely go out and get this book if you can. It is sold out, so you're gonna have to go to your local comic book shop. Go through the back bins. I'm sure they've got, they hopefully will have copies. This is a popular series after all. All right, so we're back to Cull. Now, did we see? So I'm gonna have to go back. What happened to our 18 red slayers outside the door? There they are, right there. My goodness, I absolutely missed that. Let me turn up some light. There we go. I absolutely missed that. So yes, the 18 red slayers who we meet in the original Cull story. Here are the slayers right here. So the red slay... Oh no, that just disconnected. Oh my god, that's okay. That book was in really rough shape. I just took the cover off. I don't even know how I took the cover off. So when this book has quite the mark right, quite the gash right here. Boy, I'm finding all sorts of problems right now with my books. Okay, I digress. That was upsetting that I pulled that cover off. So we see the Red Slayers here. So I missed that part when I was looking at this page. So the Red Slayers they're suddenly dead, but here they are, back again, standing in a chilling circle. Yeah, that's like a perfect circular formation. So it is terrifying. I mean, we just saw his Red Slayers dead, and now here they are, standing guard. And that circular formation, that's a sign, right? That tells us that these aren't just zombies, these serpent men. They're not like your typical zombie. They have like precision, and I guess ritual to their actions. You would not see zombies just kind of in this perfect circular formation. So that's really important art by Ivan Gill. Gives us a better appreciation just by the drawing as to who these serpent men are. I think we're seeing some of Howard's connection to Lovecraftian horror. I think we're seeing as he says the words here, coming up from the sea. Now, what Brule is talking about here is the Scourge, but again, it's coming up from the sea. That does sound like a Lovecraft reference that Howard would have used in the original story. And we see Brule here say, "Men were not always ruled by men." This is kind of the truth of this book. This is that terrifying truth. It's implying that the Serpent men, that humans are just temporary tenants in their kingdoms. It's the serpent men who were there way before and plan to be there well after the humans have come and gone. Oh yes, the ultimate betrayal. So another hidden door, Call being quite surprised by that. Brule knows all the hidden passages. But who's this? It's 2. It's Counselor 2. We do see him in the Call book as well, which my Call book no longer has a cover. But we do see 2. And we know from Howard that he is the one who handles laws and the bureaucracy of the kingdom. So in a way, he represents the government. So he, meaning the government, and now the Red Slayers are both compromised. So Call's realization is that he effectively is now a king without a kingdom. Yes, and we got this ornate dagger. And let's take a look at that dagger really quick. So it's quite ornate. We've got like slithering snakes running through the blade. And out of curiosity, is that what we saw in the 30s Boston. Absolutely it is not. No, we have another ornate dagger. But that does not match. That is not a match. Interesting though. I thought there might have been a connection there. But we're definitely seeing these artifacts popping up, right? We've got an ancient dagger mentioned in well, this is the dagger here. My apologies. This is actually, yes, this is the dagger here. So this is possibly the introduction of the mystical artifact in the Hyborian Age. Oh. Why did my... Okay, just bear with me here. Alright, my apologies for that. Slight delay on my end. I was having some audio difficulty. But yeah, we've got the three artifacts that are now making their appearance known throughout this first issue. And that's the ancient dagger that we're seeing here in Cull's era. And we see one in Kirwan's era as well, the Boston. But it's unclear. It's unclear the purpose of that artifact. So we've got the ring, and that's Boston for sure. That's Evelyn's ring in 1932. But we're also seeing the goblet, right, in Conan's era. So what is 2 up to? We're gonna have to wait as we flash back to the modern shadow mystery, if we could call it that. We're seeing Evelyn's finger. She says it won't move. That's a classic trope of occult horror. It's no longer jewelry. It's become this parasite. Yeah, it's awesome. So we know from earlier Howard's time, Howard's lore in the 30s, that like his serpent men in the original book, they use these focus objects. And that ring might be tied now right to her nervous system. So it's really like the modern version. It's like a 1930s version of magic. But instead of a spell, it's this physical shackle. I like what Howard's done here. How do we represent magic in the modern time? This is one way to do it. Are these concepts of focus objects or physical shackles? Yes. Okay, moving on. This is where the story really starts to move. We're met with the Inquisitor. This is the arrival of Demetrio the Inquisitor. He's reoccurring. He's been in a bunch of Conan stories. I'd say now the stakes have been raised. He's not only a guard, but he's a detective. So really, their top detective has been called in. We learn more here about the dead noble as Callian Publico. And so he's also featured in some of the earlier Robert E. Howard stories, and he's a wealthy collector of antiques. That's it. But I guess his character is used here as he would have the antique in this case is the goblet. So we're seeing here that the guards are mentioning the door was unlocked. And this kind of sets up that whole classic like locked room mystery setup. If the door is unlocked before Conan arrives, someone or something, we had to say something, might be a serpent, was already inside. And Conan is saying, I am Conan, I am a Cimmerian. He's not really defending himself right now, he's just simply letting Demetrio know who he is. Does Demetrio have something in his hand? No, I don't think so. No. Conan responds, I'm a dog set to follow, not set, or I'm no dog set to follow your orders. The tension is definitely rising here. Conan's not really about to, to be stripped of who he is by these noblemen. And here he is lying about coming for food. I mean, he knows they're not going to believe him regardless, so he's just throwing them any nonsense um, excuse. Yeah, there's a lot of tension within these panels. Conan, we see his hand on the sword. The guards, the watchmen are closing in. Ah, yes, and we've got this amazing serpent making its round through this entire bottom panel. It's kind of almost like a sense of like claustrophobia. It's pretty neat. So really, even if Conan, look at him, he's being circled here. Even if he cuts through all those men, he's still inside the serpent's plot. All right, over to Boston. We are getting a closer look at the ring. And I had to look this up. We're seeing the snake bite the tail. That is classic. Um, yeah, that's a classic visual. It's called an, oh my goodness, I can't pronounce that. Ouroboros. I'm probably saying that wrong. And from what I understand, from what I just quickly read something on Google on that, but it's a symbol of eternity and nature of time. The fact that nature revolves around consistent cycles. And so we're seeing Evelyn is able to speak without moving her lips. So clearly, she is either possessed or has become some kind of other entity or has an entity within her. Um, could be an entity of pure will. It's hard to say. And this is troubling, but we have Kirwan John Kirwan at the bottom here. I have to keep that ruler there. Just I don't want to get in trouble for YouTube there, so I'm keeping that ruler to keep things a little friendlier on my channel. But we see Kirwan here in a state of shock with what he sees. He sees this vision. Now Kirwan is a investigator of the occult. I mean, he's been doing this for decades, and to see him in shock tells us the significance of what's the story that's unfolding. Gonna try to turn that page quickly. Oh, the attack. Slay, Brule yells. Slay. Yeah, perfect example of barbaric vitality. And this is, we see this in almost all of Conan's stories. The moment that civilization's mask is ripped away, civilization almost becomes no more, and it's the strongest that survive. Yeah, it's beautiful artwork by Gil. And we're like a tiger striked from the darkness. So we get a better sense of who Call is. He isn't a knight with formal training. He's almost kind of more of a predator, a tiger striking from the darkness. His leaps isn't just a move, it's almost more instinct. But this is where things get troubling. Two, the counselor shouldn't have reflexes that match Call's, but he does. So really, this is confirmation that Two isn't who he is anymore. He's certainly a serpent man of some kind. You know, the serpents, the Scourge are using Counselor Two's body as a puppet. Yeah, Call gets almost overpowered here. Oh, jeez. So they're physically strong, the Scourge, these serpent men. They're referred to as the Elder Things here, yes. They definitely have a lot of strength and agility they've acquired over those centuries of existence. Yeah, that's great. Call is a tiger who can never be tamed. And our last page, of course. We're seeing that slow disintegration of the fake Two, confirming that the Scourge are here. The Scourge have arrived. And if we quickly look at my now broken comic book, I think the same thing happens here as well with Two. There it is right there. Different art, different style back then. I think this is Bernie Wrightson versus Ivan Gill. Awesome. So the Serpent Men have arrived. The mask is dissolving. And then we hear Brule say, "This is only the beginning." All right, that is it for Scourge of the Serpent, issue 1. Now, I realize I didn't dive in to Ivan Gill's art very much, so I'll try to focus a little more on his panels and his artwork for the next Let's Read for Scourge of the Serpent #2. Hope you enjoyed this, and I do apologize. The music did cut off about halfway through. For some reason, I can't seem to get the audio running on my laptop any longer, but I'm sure I'll fix that for the next stream. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for another Let's Read.